16th. And Madam Clerk, you take the roll.
Commissioner Varga,
Here.
Commissioner Marecki,
Here.
Commissioner Clark-Coleman,
Saw she was here. There she is.
muted.
You're muted,
Ma'am.
right?
Yes. Good afternoon. How are you?
That mute. There you go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here.
Commissioner Ware,
Here.
Chair Anderson,
Here.
you have a quorum present.
Thank you. I guess we could start off. I really have no remarks right at the moment. I will have some questions, but I asked, I don't see James Heath on the line yet, but maybe we can move to, well, let's get the minutes out of the way, the approval of the June
Move
8th.
approval, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Seeing none, minutes have been approved. Under new business, we'll move on to, since James Heath is not here at the moment, someone's got some background noise going. All right, great.
Commissioner Ware.
Maybe we could move on to Victoria, if you don't mind, Victoria. Maybe we can take the update that you might have for us. I know committee members should have received a construction project report or progress report last evening or late yesterday afternoon. I believe it was late yesterday afternoon, 2 page and a half or so, and then there was another, the financial or the construction status report with the figures of where we stand, what's been expended and what is yet to be expended. So without any further ado, I'll go to Victoria, and Victoria, if you're ready, we'll have you give us your update on maybe the construction as far as the letting of contracts and that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I think you have some of this. If not, I got this, a new report, the July report, late last night. I will forward it right after this meeting. But I wanted to kind of go through and kind of give you an update regarding the compliance. First part, right now, if you look at, I'm looking at work hours right now. That is the compliance for Wayne County residents working on the project. So from November 1st, 2018 to present, the cumulative is they're at about 44% out of the 51% goal for the total project on work hours thus far. Now, I want to also switch your attention. I want to talk about July real quick, and then it'll kind of bring it together. You know, this past quarter that they're just reporting on, because of the pandemic, we had a long period of being shut down. One of the other things with the shutdown, when they were able to work before we had the total stay at home, and then once we had the release, understanding the phase right now that the project is in is the trade is iron workers. Within the trade for the structure of the iron workers, that trade, and they know there is a disparity in it, there is less Wayne County workers in the iron working trades than all of the other trades. There has been a conversation with the union specifically for more recruitment within the iron trades so that they can get more Wayne County residents. So what you're seeing right now with a dip, for example, if we just focus in on the July report, they're only at 32% for the Wayne County goal. And some of this is because of, one, COVID, and then two, because of just working on the area of iron workers. I had already contacted Barton Mallow, speaking with Katie Gandy, Steve O'Connor, and Dennis Mitchell regarding the number, and that's when we went over the trades and looking at the majority of the work that was being done during that quarter and in the pandemic time, only being the iron workers. They expect the numbers to go up greatly in the next quarter as they start to move into the secondary phases where they're getting other trades on the job. Currently, when we look at the EC, those are the early contract involvement, such as the electrical, such as the mechanical. Right now, they are doing a good job at ensuring when they're doing the contract letting that one, they are reaching out to Wayne County businesses, women and minorities for subcontracting opportunities, as well as within the workforce. They are also pushing that down, meaning that all of the subcontractors again have to be able to help hit that goal of having that 51% Wayne County workforce. Let me pull out some contracting numbers as well. Correct numbers right now, the direct cost, the total spend as of today that we have is $80,263,916. Of that total spend, we are at 62% being Wayne County certified businesses. So of that 80 million, we're at $50 million with Wayne County certified businesses, not claimed, certified. So we definitely know they are Wayne County businesses. Then out of that 80 million, we have spent $5 million with minority certified businesses, and we've also spent an additional $4.5 million with women business entities. So we are at 62% for county certified businesses. We are at 6% for minority business enterprises and 6% for women business enterprises. And that's just the dollars spent today. Under general conditions, because we kind of split that out with the hard construction and asked for those totals separately. Right now they have spent $898,086.41. And of that total spend currently, we are at 87% at Wayne County certified businesses. So of that $898 million, which was million, $1,000, we are at $778,000 have been spent directly with Wayne County certified businesses. $205,000 have been spent directly with minority businesses. That's at 23%. And then we have $201 have been spent with women-owned businesses, and that's at 22.4%. So if you look at the totality of the spend, we are again at a 63% spend ratio with Wayne County certified businesses, and then 7% with minority businesses, and then 6% with women-owned businesses to date. One of the things I would like to highlight, they have put all of bid package, as I said, all of the bids for bid package 4 have been out on the street, but they are not yet done letting those packages. We pretty much were at a standstill for quite a while with the project, as well as expanding and delaying. And I'm going to give you an example. The hardscapes and softscapes, meaning the hardscape concrete, some of the pathways around the courthouses, parking lot areas, and around the actual jail itself, along with landscaping opportunities, has kind of been held in abeyance for a while because they knew we were pushing some things back, and there were a few architectural tweaks that were happening in the project. So that is another area that we expect to see a lot of county-based women and minorities also have a bite at the apple on that part. There are still general conditions that will be coming out in the bid process, as well as there are some additional subcontracting opportunities that are happening under some of the larger awards. For example, I know they did Artesian Tile is going to be doing some of the tile work, particularly within the courthouse. Artesian Tile is also then subbing down and looking for partners in the moment. So we should see quite a lot more opportunities coming up, which has been good news. We're seeing people break up bids. Limbach has been working specifically with a minority-owned company, Bullbine, because they have a smaller capacity. So they're working to see if they can give them a part of a floor and see how they do that to help them expand their capacity. So there has been a lot more intentional work being done. Also, there's a new cross program that is happening. I just spoke with Dennis, and you will probably see more information coming up in the next few weeks. There are several folks that have bid already on the CJC project, and maybe they did not win that bid. They have been, Barton Mallow has specifically been targeting them and then trying to partner them on the Hudson's project. So people who have gone through the process and all the extra steps that we have laid out in the CJC, such as the additional outreach, such as the technical assistance, working with them, to have them be able to bid if they were not successful. And some of them, even if you are successful, those same folks are being invited, particularly the smaller businesses, to come to the one-on-ones and work with them again on the Hudson's project. So making sure that it's not just a one-time opportunity that we're pouring into them, but anytime we can try to place them in an additional project, that's happening as well. Let me see.
Victoria, I failed to ask you to identify yourself for the record.
Oh, I apologize. No problem.
Everybody knows you that's on here, I think, but just for the record.
Not a problem at all. Victoria Ennis Edwards. I am the Human Relations Business Inclusions Director for Wayne County. I am trying to see if there is anything else that I specifically wanted to be able to highlight.
Was that bid package 4 that you were speaking about, or did you say that one is still out?
Okay, I was speaking about bid package 4. So remember, bid package 4 was the one with all the chapters. So
Right.
all the chapters are on the streets, but everything has not been awarded yet.
Okay.
So we still have some awards to come. I literally just got this update last night from Katie, and I am hoping by next week, she said they're going to have 3 or 4 more awards. When I get that information, I will forward that on to your office as well to share.
Right. Appreciate that.
Okay. I think that is, I don't want to get down in the weeds. I wanted to just give you the umbrella because I think it was pretty good news, particularly in light of, we're still moving forward with the pandemic. As well as, I will say this, we do have the apprenticeship program that is on site for the CJC. Because it's been going so well and all of the contractors, the primes and the subs have been participating and interested in it, it looks like there's going to be an opportunity to expand it and get even more apprentices coming up in 2021 that we thought we wouldn't be able to do. So that is, again, possibly another 25 apprentices on the program that were never scheduled. So that makes it even bigger.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Any questions from committee members for Victoria? Excuse me. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to James. Good afternoon, James. You're on mute. James, okay.
I apologize for being late. James Heath, Corporation Counsel. I was had problems connecting with you on Zoom.
It happens.
Not a whole lot to update from our last meeting, Commissioner. I'm going to let Jay talk a little bit about some of the construction progress that has occurred, but I do want to highlight a few things for you, just as updates based on things that we've been discussing. Would like to thank the commission as a whole for approving the resolution allowing us to deal with change orders in a quick fashion. The first change order that's going to be set of change orders that's going to be coming to this body or in the new process, as you and I have discussed, Commissioner Anderson, deals with the kitchen, and we are still working out pricing issues with the developer on that. And so there were some last minute changes, which we think will actually reduce the amount of the change order that the Sheriff's Department identified for us. And so we are still discussing with Rock the exact amount that number is going to go down. And so as soon as we have that solidified, those changes will go through the process according to the resolution. So just wanted to let you know that had not occurred yet, but we're trying to finalize it.
Is it still going to be, as you mentioned before, when we spoke about it, you thought it would still be under, or do you still think it'll be under 200,000?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I do. So once that, and you know, because it will be under, that will be through a letter to the chair, but I will also make sure that you're copying and you're well aware of everything as it happens. But just wanted to give you an update on that. One of the things that we've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks is our FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, that's going to actually end up being, you know, towards the end of the project, but we are engaged in a process right now of working with a third-party vendor that Rock has worked with in the past to kind of manage that process to help us with identifying the best equipment and everything that we need. Our initial plan was for Rock to contract directly with that firm for the purposes of servicing the county. But one of the things which we are working with right now is a determination of sales tax, because the county is exempt from sales tax. We're talking about a spend in the neighborhood of $10 million. And so that's a significant amount of money in sales tax. And so our goal is to make sure that we don't pay that. And so that may require, we're talking with the firm, we're talking with the Michigan Department of Treasury, that may require a change in how we structure the contract with this vendor. We don't know yet. We've got some questions out to the Treasury Department to see how we need to structure that. But I just want to put that on your radar, Commissioner, that we may be coming back to the committee for some discussions on how we want to structure that to save anywhere from $500,000 to $700,000, which is significant for us. We talked last month about project delays. We've had some conversations over the last few days with Rock, and they are engaged in a process with Barton Malow to kind of pinpoint exactly what they think might be the overall impact to the project from a schedule standpoint, if it will be beyond the day-for-day delay that we experienced because of COVID-19. They are working on that. CGL had a conversation with them, trying to get some of that information. And so hopefully by our next committee meeting, we'll have firmer information for you. But I just want to know, because you had asked, that we had followed up on that. And so we hope to have some information to you on that.
Yeah, and you know, not only the additional length of time, which you had indicated you thought it would be day for a day of shutdown, but also whether or not there's any materials that have been delayed because of that. Are we incurring any supply line problems or parts?
Yeah, that's kind of the calculation that they're working on right now, and so that will probably be the real determining factor about any sort of delay in terms of getting equipment and getting supplies that need to come to the site.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have more on that. We talked a little bit last month about substation, which is on property owned by the county, which is actually off of the construction site, but it was one of those areas that we had hoped we potentially will use for some parking spaces. The substation is in the process of being scheduled to be decommissioned by DTE and the Public Lighting Authority for the city for Detroit. We got some information that we're looking. There's a chance that it could happen by the end of this calendar year, but we're really probably more realistically looking at the first quarter of next year for decommissioning. But one of the things that we will want to do is get a firm understanding of the environmental situation under that substation. And so over the next, I would say probably 2 months, we may be looking to bring on environmental company, the same one, SME, who did the baseline environmental work for the project as a whole, to give us an idea of what we're really going to be dealing with once that site is decommissioned, and we can use it. That is outside of the footprint of the actual CJC, so it's not a cost that is built in already. So we will make a determination of who is best to help us with understanding those environmental concerns, and then we certainly will, as soon as we have a cost for that work, we will certainly bring it back to your attention, Commissioner, because I know it's something that you have been interested in over the course of our discussions here. So I'll leave it to Jay to talk a little bit about some of the construction milestones that we've reached. And Jay, you can talk a little bit about the ceremonial placement of that final beam. I didn't recognize the import of that. If I had, I would have let the committee know. But it's a big event in the construction of a new project of this size. So Jay will talk a little bit about that. But before he does, if there's any questions, Commissioner Anderson, I'd be happy to try to address any.
I don't know if it'd be better to have you address it or Jay, but I know I got your report from last night, and I'm wondering about. There's been some injury accidents, probably for a project of this magnitude. That's probably not a lot for the number. I think you indicated there have been. I believe you'd indicated there had been 4. Hopefully, none of them severe injuries. But it sounds like they're trying to do as good of a job as possible with so many moving parts to hold injuries down to a minimum. But I don't know if you could address that, and also that a precast wall was destroyed, and now and possible damage to the road. Is there any update on that? And also, who's responsible for that? Is the trucking company? Do they pick up? I don't know if it's not a cell, correct? It's just it's a wall. Do they pick up the cost of that?
You want to talk, James, or me?
Yeah, I want to talk a little about the specifics of the wall that broke, and also any injuries, if you can speak about that at all. What I will say is certainly not the county, Commissioner. So that's your primary concern. So Jay.
Yeah, going back to the safety, Commissioner, there was a total of five recordable injuries for the entire project, and I think you're probably looking at the same monthly report. 2 for the year, nothing serious. There was only one lost time injury, but definitely for a project of this magnitude and the amount of resources that are on site and the amount of floors that we're erecting, it's significant. We had injuries, but it is not uncalled for. I mean, it's typical for a project of this size. We always want to see 0 injuries, but that is the big wish at the beginning of the project. To address your issue about the panel, well, I was back home in California when that happened, so I missed seeing it, but I saw pictures, and what happened is they're dragging the panels on a truck, and they're trucking them to the site. So they were going down the adjacent road, running parallel to the site, and as they made the turn, the truck driver he took it on his own to unlash the panel. So, and that's not the case. Typically, safety wise, they are not to unlash anything until they're stationary on the site under the crane. And the panel fell off, and fortunately, there were no cars in the road. There were no pedestrians in the road. They managed to pick the panel up with a tractor with a forklift on both the front and back of the panel, and they moved it off site. It was damaged. It was of no use, and that's not our concern. It'll be the contractor, and a lot of these panels are the same, so they're able to quickly take another panel and replace the one that was damaged, and they'll cast another panel off site and truck it here. But no, it was taken care of quickly. The area was cleaned up. There was no road damage. The police blocked off the road so that we could get the cleanup done, and it went real smoothly, other than it falling off the truck.
Right.
Kind of an update to the construction on site. Again, we're moving quick, and I'll just kind of go around each building. And if you guys are familiar with the layout, the ADF is in a kind of a square box, and of that square box, there's 4 quadrants. 3 of the 4 quadrants are erected all the way to the top floor. They're working on quadrant 4, and they are planning on pouring it's like a topping slab that goes over the concrete tees that support the flooring. They are getting ready to pour a floor next week on that, if not tomorrow. Moving through that building, they've left some openings. If you guys drive around the site, you can see there's some openings off the freeway side, and that's where they're going to begin loading the steel cells for the ADF. Moving into the courts, the 7 floors have all been erected. All the slab on metal deck is completed. Starting on the 2nd floor, they're doing internal framing, steel framing of all the courtrooms, and installation of all the above ceiling mechanical equipment and piping. 3rd, 4th, 5th floor, they are spraying fireproofing up through the 4th floor, which is a coating that goes on all the beams for fire resistance. And then they'll just progress the same. They'll start framing on the 3rd floor and move vertically. Moving over to the sheriff's office, administration, that building is complete with the steel and the steel decks, and they are currently prepping those decks for slab on metal deck pours. The CUP building, they've erected all the steel, all the decking is complete, and they are currently completing the exterior walls for that building. And they poured the 1st level floor, and they're prepping the electrical room floors for concrete. And then the FM building, we just started erection of the metal steel for that building. So it's moving quick, and James spoke about the significance of the last beam being set, and typically the iron workers, sometimes it's a real significance. Everybody signs the beam who's involved on the project. I don't believe they did that this time. It's just significant that they are finally placing the last beam, and they make a big ceremony about it, and it's significant to the iron workers that they signify that. Site work, they're doing some underground drains and utility work. And that's about it. They're expecting the delivery of cells to begin the end of August, so that'll be another milestone to see those start rolling in. Still, we are kind of locked down from visitation or visiting the site. I would like to try to, I don't know, you guys might know the capability, but to present like a kind of an overview with a drone flyover that the contractor does monthly, and maybe next month's meeting we can get a copy of that drone flyover and let it run. You guys can actually see some of the progress.
That'd be great. You know, even if that doesn't work out, to be able to do it during the meeting. But how long is it? Do you know?
It's probably 30, 40 seconds, less than a minute.
Oh,
Less than
okay.
a couple minutes.
That should be fine.
That's all I have for construction. Any questions on progress?
The only thing I would ask is about where are we at as compared to before the shutdown, the COVID shutdown? Are we back up to basically the same level, or I would guess we've exceeded where we were at that time as far as the construction and the number of people on the job?
Most certainly, with the ramp up in the construction, of course, the resources are going to ramp up too. And talking to some of the folks at Barton Mallow last week, this week they were ramping up to 100% workforce.
Okay. Oh, good. But any questions from committee members at this point? Any questions from committee members? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I did have one thing I neglected to add that I don't think we've spoken about in the past.
Okay.
One of the things that we are looking at with respect to change orders is whether any aspects of the design and construction can be changed at this point to make the facility better able to deal with COVID-19 and diseases and infectious diseases of that type. And specifically, we are looking at the CARES Act and making a determination along with outside counsel about whether we can lawfully use any of those funds for any such changes. Our architect has given us kind of a list of some suggestions that might be positive for the project. But we are going through an analysis to determine, as you well know, Commissioner, the rules are pretty, well, they're still being developed on the federal side. But one of the primary issues that we really would have to get around to see if it's eligible would be the timing. The primary rule is that the funds need to be used for projects by the end of this calendar year. Obviously, any of the construction that we would be engaged in would go well beyond that time period. And so we're looking, we're seeking some guidance about whether that's even a possibility. Our thinking, and we don't know for certain at this point, but our thinking is that, you know, even though we're at, you know, really the end stages, we're just kind of putting tweaks on design, and we're obviously making construction progress, that if there is an opportunity for us to change the design in a way that would make it, you know, I'll say more COVID compliant, that we ought to at least explore that opportunity. So that's really all that I have in terms of an update for you. We're still trying to get a handle on whether we can even use CARES Act funds for any of that work. But you know, I just wanted to put that on your radar screen as well.
I think that's a great idea. You know, if you just look at the difficulty that the sheriff's department and everyone's had as far as, you know, keeping prisoners from contracting the disease, I think, or the virus is I'm sure, been a massive challenge. And we may even have to look at, if money's available to do something with a ventilation system that keeps it separate, so there's not a transmission that way. I know it all depends on, certainly if we can find the funding to do it, but some way to segregate prisoners that might be infected in the future. It could be this, it could be something else, but this has really given us, I think, a moment of awakening that we have to anticipate that, and I applaud you for looking at that.
And it's not just the jail. As you know, we're making, kind of minor tweaks right now to the various courthouses, Frank Murphy and KMAC as well, in terms of juries, keeping them as separate as possible and those sorts of things. And so, we want to be as proactive and creative as possible. It's just going to be a matter of whether we feel we can lawfully use the funds. And so once we have more information on that, we'll give you an update, Commissioner.
Right. I appreciate the budget update and that you sent over. I don't know if all members got it yet, but I'll make sure everybody gets it. And as far as a environmental update, was that as far as the costs? Trying to remember if that was part of that report. Could you give us a quick update on the environmental issues? I think I did see somewhere that you said we continue to run into some issues here and there as the construction continues. We discover things. Do we look like we're going to run over the budgeted amount that we had in the contract?
Speaking conservatively here, I don't have a firm number for you, but speaking conservatively, I'm going to suggest that we very well might, Commissioner. How far I can't say at this point. We are still, CGL is still working along with Bedrock and Barton Malow on nailing down those exact numbers, but we are. I think that there's a good chance we're going to exceed the amount. Carter, you have anything you want to add on that?
I think that's right, that we probably will exceed the budgeted amount in the project contract. Recently, they haven't really been discovering too many PCBs or contaminants. That was mostly a function of excavating on site. There are still some areas that I believe they have to remove rainwater to this day from the site when there's rainfall, but otherwise there's not a lot of, we're not moving tons of soil off the site or anything like that. So the only upcoming environmental costs that we're looking at would be for the off-site parking area. And I don't think we anticipate that being too costly. We won't have to excavate nearly as deep into the soil for that. And then environmental costs that may result from the removal of the substation on site. So we are still looking at a few added environmental costs to come, but I think for the most part, we're through that. And as James said, CGL and ROC and ROC's environmental consultant are still working on giving us firm numbers about that.
And that'll be a negotiated issue once we get past what the contribution each side was put in initially in the agreement. So we're right. Tell me if I'm wrong. I think that it's, didn't we have 10 million between the two parties, 5 million apiece for environmental? James or Carter, either one.
No, that's right. I mean, once we exceed that amount, we're going to we'll be splitting the costs and we'll, have conversations about that for certain.
Right. Last thing I have, James, I think is, are we having to renegotiate anything right currently other than what we just talked about? Renegotiate anything with ROC? Say the lease agreements on the buildings. I think you mentioned this in the conversation that we had once before about the buildings that we're still occupying that were part of the overall transaction with ROC. Are we having to do anything as far as renegotiating those, or because the project is expected to run over because of COVID?
Yeah. No, I think the development agreement gave us more than enough cushion, we believe, such that the delay from COVID, at least the most recent delay, we're hoping not to have future delays with subsequent waves of COVID. But no, we don't anticipate having to hold over beyond the period that's contemplated within the agreement, Commissioner.
Okay. And the parking lot issue or the concession, that's totally off the table now? Or is that still in the background, something that we
No,
might?
it's still it still has life. It's kind of moved from I'll say it's kind of moved from the category of a CJC project issue to an overall county finance question. But there are some efforts that the administration is still considering, still making, that will that continue to make that a potentially viable option for us. And so, but that determination is really going to be addressed on an ongoing basis by the deputy county executive and the chief financial officer.
Okay. So it's not completely off the table. That's good
That's
to hear.
correct.
So that money is still sitting in the same fund, correct?
Yeah, it's not been touched.
Okay. Yeah, because I know the commission approved that extra money to give you that flexibility if you saw an opportunity to work out a deal.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I'll tell you, we have we have the terms of a deal that would save the county money going forward, that would allow us flexibility with respect to how we deal with parking, which, you know, from a user standpoint and also from a standpoint of you know, who we want to contract to manage that process. And so I will tell you that I continue to believe that it is a good use of funds. But obviously, when we first struck the deal, that was prior to having a deficit in this fiscal year of approaching $40 million, and with what we're dealing with going forward. So we just have to look at it within that context. So.
Right. Okay. That's all I have. Commission members, any others that might have questions?
You covered it pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner, I have a question if it's okay.
Sure. Is this Terrence?
Yes.
Sure, Terrence.
This, Mr. Heath, I have a question. If I heard you right, the schedule for the project is still as originally scheduled, even though we had the COVID delays, or is the schedule been pushed back some?
So what we've been told, Terrence, is that there's a kind of a day for day delay. So I don't know that, I don't have offhand the exact number of days that construction ceased, but there's a kind of what we're expecting is at this point is a day for day delay, and I can give you the exact numbers that we were not working, unless Jay or Carter have that number offhand. But what Barton Malow and Rock are doing now, and what they are going to be providing us with, is whether that delay is going to be more or less based on some of the materials that they have to get from outside of the state, and just kind of how their overall construction schedule is going. But at this point, the information that we've been given is that it's just a day for day delay. And if that's just the case, we actually hope that number will shrink. And so we're still looking in the probably the fourth quarter of 2022.
And that was the original.
Yeah, the original had us, I believe, in July of 22.
Okay, so third quarter that's about the same.
Yeah, roughly the same. I mean, that's, you know, but as I said, they're still running those numbers. I mean, so the information I'm giving you is the most up-to-date information that we have at this point.
Okay, so there's no official updated schedule as of now. No, officially, we're going to be months behind. But right now, we're kind of still on track from what they are. Would that be accurate?
That is correct.
Okay.
Is that all, Terrence?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Sure. Thank you. Any other members on the call or staff that even has a question? Anyone else? Seeing no others, I guess we'll move the agenda. Madam Clerk?
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
I have nothing. Does anyone have something else under such other matters? Anyone else? Seeing none, move the agenda, please.
Public
Next.
comment.
Is there anyone from the public? Have we received any emails, Sherelle?
No, I haven't gotten any.
Okay. Anyone else from the public that's on the call or on the Zoom call that would like to have a comment or has a question? Last call. Anyone else from the public that's on this meeting, Zoom meeting, that would like to ask a question or has a comment? Seeing none, I believe it leaves us with just the adjournment, correct?
Move to adjourn.
Do I have a support?
Support, Warecki.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you all, and thanks for those that are participating. Thank you.